Okay, here we go.
You made me feel better. I'm glad you shared that.
Okay, Jerry, we're good.
Okay.
You can start.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
And welcome to the Borough special meeting, October 26th, 7 p.m. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez. Present. Ms. Simrel. Present. Ms. Kehoe.
Here.
Mr. Veston.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell is absent. Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Shields.
Here.
And Solicitor Hayes.
Yeah.
We don't have any public comment tonight, so
Clearly.
we can scoot right down to
Surprise.
discussion. Introduction
Of the budget. Next week, we're gonna, we need to vote to advertise the budgets so that we need to advertise them for a couple weeks in advance of, and make available to the public a couple weeks in advance of our December meeting. So we're gonna need at the meeting, just, so we have the budgets here, attached general fund, the fire fund, the sewer fund, and the liquid fuels. If you guys want to look them over, see if you have any questions, and if we're good for next week, that we can have the motion to authorize me to advertise it. It's that simple. And no tax increases this year so far.
That should be the headlines. In
Yeah.
That's correct.
Make sure we leave with that.
Okay, next one, the Real Riders invitation.
Yeah, I sent out an email to everybody. The rail riders are trying something new. They're doing municipal days where they're asking municipalities, or they're giving the government for local towns in the area the opportunity to have a day, like we would have a Clark Summit Day.
Right.
They would give us a table that we could set up where we can promote or provide information about the borough services. We would get somebody to throw out the first pitch, and they would give us discounted seats, 12 instead of 20.
Right.
I don't know if we want to do it. If we do, we need to get back to them and tell them which date on the schedule, the dates being the one that they're home, obviously. But
Okay.
so it's interesting, and I just thought if you guys wanted
I
to.
think it'd be an opportunity for us. You know.
I love Real Riders games. My law firm has
Yeah.
tickets, so I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great. I don't think there's a downside to it. Maybe we could put like a Sunday. I think it'd be kind of nice for families to go.
Sunday?
And I saw, when it goes to the schedule, I saw they're playing like
Yeah.
Syracuse Mets, which is the New York Mets farm team, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, it's the Phillies, the Worcester Red Sox. So maybe like a Sunday in July or August or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, and I think it'd be a great family day too, you know.
And then if you get discounted tickets for the residents, and maybe Mayor
Yeah.
Kelly or Mrs. Carey can lend them up and
know,
provide
I
the
make
first
money
pitch or
at
something.
I'm already heating up. I'm up to a $95.
You do far better than me. that's
I
for
will
sure.
reach out to them and ask them for a Sunday. You guys might want to think about who's going to do the first pitch and what information, who's going to man the table and what information we want to have at that table.
Okay.
Okay,
I
and
have
we'll
no
take it
problem.
from there. So I'll let them know where.
At the very least, get handouts for what we would put on the sewage bills.
Is
Yes.
that knowledgeable?
At the very least.
Yes.
Put
Why
those
don't we
out
have Bob? Bob,
I
if you
agree.
pick the date.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know,
I don't know what other
you would know
fires.
better than the rest of
We have
us.
a customer service guy.
A representative from the
Tickets,
fire
so yeah,
company
just
might be
reach
there
out.
to
Yeah,
answer
sure.
questions.
Yeah.
I know
We'll
we're
figure
looking
that out.
pretty
We've got
far
lots of time,
ahead.
thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
Okay.
you're familiar with it, it'd be a lot easier for you to
Yeah,
pick a
that's
date
not-
that would work for
I
us.
can come back next week and we'll talk to them and see what games. I think sometimes Sundays may get they get crowded because it's there, but maybe,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
sure, I'd rather get that than like a Monday or Tuesday
I
night.
would.
Oh, yeah, that'd be, yeah. Okay, yeah, that'd be terrific.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
We'll put that ball in your court then, Bob.
I'm up for it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is our potential hall town meeting.
I don't know if you want to do this or you want me to do
You
it.
Go ahead. Virginia.
Long story short, we've been over 10 years without a tax increase. We've been, 30 years or more without a reassessment. We are we are at the point now where the maximum tax we could charge would give us 20,000 more in our budget, which is not going to buy us anything. We recognize the fact that our residents don't tend to recognize what they're paying to the borough versus what they're paying to the school versus the county and what they're getting for their money. And if we are going to have to look at increases, which we're going to have to figure something's got to give until we reassess, something has to give by 2024. We thought it might be time to start educating our residents. First of all, if the average resident is paying $500 a year and they're getting 24/7 police coverage, they've got virtually unlimited trash pickup. They've got the leaf pickup where they don't even have to bag, they just rake it. I mean, the services that they get for $500 a year are beyond what I think anybody would would believe if they truly sit down and recognize it. Therefore, if we decide that the only way that we can handle our budget in 2024 is to start billing or start having our residents pay their trash bill directly, they'll be aware, they'll have a clue, they'll know what the cost is, they'll know what they're getting for their money, and it might not cause an uproar. Because right now, everybody thinks I pay thousands a year in taxes and I want these services, but they're only paying a couple hundred a year to the borough.
Yeah.
They don't get it. So we were just talking about the fact that maybe it's necessary to encourage residents to come and participate in a town hall. The other benefit of the discussion might be talking about police regionalization. Because one of the other things that came up is with our last police regionalization meeting, or the last one that I was at, Newton was appalled at the cost that it would cost or how much it would cost them to have police coverage, which when you break it out per household would be negligible. But right now they have state police coverage, which means for 9 times out of 10, they don't have coverage.
Exactly.
I don't think the average resident knows that. I certainly didn't understand what my options were when I live in a town that has state police coverage, and I did not understand my options until I worked for the borough. Now I recognize the fact that the municipality can very efficiently bring on police services. What that cost would be for them to have 24/7 coverage would be minimal, and it might help move this forward with the regionalization. Honestly, I think South Ave should be doing this, educating their people before, but they're not. So maybe somehow or other we need to get the word out. So I don't know what you guys want to do with it, how we'd want to handle it, but I just threw together some things that I think that we need to talk about, and maybe we need to talk about maybe a date and what we should do, if we should do it.
I think it's a nice idea and stuff like that, but my only concern is, I don't think we have any answers to any of these questions. I think people are going to come and they're going to want to talk about these type of things. And I think people are going to express opinions, and I don't know if we really have anything concrete on how we would handle it.
Well, the best thing you can do is to hear out what they have to say.
Yeah.
And as we do here many times, if people have a question and say, we'll have to get back to you and get back to them. I mean, rather than just give them fluff, actually get back to them and say, here's the answer to your question.
Worst case
That's what we can
scenario,
do.
worst case scenario, your job as elected officials is to represent your populace.
That's what you're
This
trying
is
to
their
do.
opportunity to tell you what they want.
Yeah.
So you will then, if nothing else, then at least we're hearing how they feel about it. For example, we did a town hall and I think it was like 2008, it was like 14 years ago, to talk about the trash. And residents actually surprisingly came out in mass, tons of them. And they said, we do not want to see any of our services cut, period, end of sentence. We don't care what it costs.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why we still have the trash in our budget, because we had a town hall, we heard what they said, and we
Right.
took it to heart. So again, having the opportunity to let them know what the legitimate costs are, and then if they still want it done this way, then okay, great. But we can find out from them. If we cannot give 100% at the same cost next year as we are this year. We can't.
Exactly.
So where do they see us going? Maybe we should find out from
Our
them.
contract up, Virginia,
With-
with Carol.
I'd have to go back and check. I think we have like 3 more years. I'm pretty sure we have 3 more years. So that's not really an option right away, but it's something that we have to look at. Because
A thought I had is social media is just everything right now. So even if we announce the town hall on our page, maybe it'll give you a heads up of what people have concerns, like if there's any comments under it. I mean, not to answer
Right.
anything there, but.
no, but you're right, maybe
To
we
get a
put
head
out feelers,
start.
we want to have a town hall, we want to know what you
What are
want to
your
talk about,
concerns?
you
What do
start
you
giving
wanna
us feedback,
Yeah.
what should we talk about?
And
What
we
do you
may-
need to know?
Good
We
thought.
may get responses
Okay.
there. It may
Yeah.
help.
That's really good.
Ask them now if they want to do away with leaf pickup.
That is something, I mean, leaf pickup is incredibly expensive.
Right.
If we went to bagging, it would be a pain in the neck for our residents, but it would definitely save money.
I'd rather you raise my taxes.
There, just
That's
raise
the thing, I
Frank's
think they need to
taxes.
be aware of that.
I would
But
rather
they
you
need to be
raise my
able to
taxes
have
than
that
to cut
input.
out.
Right.
Right.
Because that's how you feel. How do most of the
Right.
people feel? Your job is to represent them,
Right.
but we need to
Right.
know
I
how
think
they
they want to
feel.
feel empowered that they're getting what they choose to pay for.
Exactly,
Because if the majority of
exactly.
people don't feel it's feasible to pay for it, then we don't have to continue to provide the
Right.
service.
Right. I mean, the big thing is the police. Right now, the police, the whole issue with staffing the police and having the money for it. And the MMO is a huge issue. The MMO is the minimum municipal obligation. And that's how much we have to contribute in a year to keep the pension funded. The MMO is something, it's a formula the state prepares and tells us what we're going to have to pay. In 2008, when the market took a dive, our MMO went from like 25,000 a year to 200,000 a year. The market's taken a dive this year. I don't know what's going to happen next year with MMO, but if we have $20,000 wiggle room and the MMO goes up $50,000 right there,
It's good.
that is
Right.
in itself, there's our
Right.
budget blown without anything else changing. So I just feel that we need to have an opportunity to provide information and get feelings and input.
Right.
And we had a lot of people commenting, or have people contacted you about any of these issues, or is it?
No.
This is just preemptive? and
This is preemptive,
for the
because-
budget next
Because I
year?
know the average person doesn't want to, the average council person or supervisor in townships, so you don't want to raise taxes.
Right.
And it's not a popular idea. You don't want to be in the paper saying we're raising taxes.
Yep.
But we need to make sure our residents have some input on what's going to happen. What services do they want? What don't they want? How much are they willing to pay for it? Should we increase taxes? Should we get rid of something here or there? You tell us what you want, and then we will work it accordingly. Maybe that will help.
I was gonna say, Virginia, I think you got to be careful. You have to set up parameters for what they're gonna speak about and what they can't speak. You don't want open mic. Where
No.
people are gonna come home and just like, oh, yeah, while I'm here, let me give you a piece of my mind.
No, I agree. I think that that's why, based on what we were talking about, I think putting something out in social media and finding out what do
And
they
And then
want to
taking
talk
the
about
top
in
concerns,
advance.
And then we discuss that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, then we can do that. If they give us their questions in advance, we could be prepared to discuss it and maybe take a little input, but
Sure.
try to control it a little bit. Yeah, because we don't want to free for all. But we want,
Could make,
It'd be a fist fight.
maybe go with a moderator type
Yeah,
setup
that's exactly right.
and have people submit their questions to the moderator. And then you just stick with the plan. And you have like a 5-minute or a 10-minute time at the end of the session
Mhm.
as questions open to the public,
Right.
other
You're
than-
right, Dave.
what have written down.
And maybe we have designate somebody on council just to field all of the questions, so there's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just people, because I don't want to have some inconsistencies or somebody maybe hearing one thing from one councilman or
Yeah.
from another
Right.
councilman.
Right.
Or even if we pick council members to handle different subjects, like when we're talking about taxes, when we're talking about police, so-and-so handles
Yeah.
that, so-and-so handles that, so that, yes, but within the subject. Well, and we'd have time to make sure we know what we're talking about before we present it to them too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put out feelers. I'll start to get some input on this, and then I can present something at our work session.
Put it on the board down there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We can do that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I will.
I have to say one thing, the regionalization side, because I think that's still very much up in the air, and there's a lot of parts that are moving. I
Right.
think people are still kind of upset from what
It's not gonna
happened
happen for 5 years.
and happened this summer, so
If
I
that's-
would just be worried about.
Yeah,
There's so many irons that have to be straightened
So
out there, I think.
maybe not that. at all.
I'd be more inclined to
Not
talk
leave
about
that away from
budget
that.
stuff. and-
Yeah.
See that in 5 years,
I think
you
it's
should be real happy over that.
Working on
What's
that.
the police regionalization. I said, if you see that happen in 5 years, you should be real happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
you're gonna see it happen anytime before that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that if people knew more about what regionalization would offer them, I mean, is
Oh,
it gonna be perfect solution? No, nothing's perfect.
No,
But the fact of the matter is the people that don't have the police coverage right now could really benefit from it very
Right.
cost effectively. For our residents, being able to expand the services out in the community makes it more cost effective for them. So
Yeah.
we can actually save our residents a little bit of money and provide a service to Newton that they don't have right now at a very reasonable price.
Yeah.
So I mean, that might be some of the things that,
I
you
think
know,
make it more
but just-
informative, but make people aware it's not happening for a long period of time. But if a lot of people are concerned about it,
No.
I don't think it hurts for us to at least inform them of the positives that would come along with
bingo,
regionalization.
right.
Right.
It's
I
not a
think
done
most people
deal.
are in panic mode because they don't understand the
Yeah.
concept of it.
Right. I think that most people
And
are
they're hearing
negative
too
to
much
ideas when
hearsay.
they don't understand them.
That's the whole.
And it's
thing.
become a bad game with telephone, where if they hear it directly from us, it
Right.
clarifies a lot of
Right.
misconceptions that are being brewed.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Would we want to list anything on a sewer, like when the sewer bill
Yeah.
goes out too?
yeah, definitely. The
Our millage
next
is
one's
at the
not going,
max now, right?
huh?
Excuse me. Our millage is at the max right now, isn't it?
29 and a half. We are half a mil away from the max. Like I said, that half mil though is the $20,000, which is not gonna
Yeah.
buy much in a $3 million budget.
Nope.
What was I gonna say?
The school raised their taxes this year
Yeah,
too. you
yeah.
know,
And I don't want to
theirs are
raise
higher to
taxes,
begin
but
with,
maybe
you know,
there
but-
are things that, like I said, if people would rather bag and not have their
Right.
leaves blowing around, why are we spending more of their money doing that? I mean,
Right,
there
we can
is
allocate
good
it
things
somewhere
that can
else.
come from these
because
meetings.
not everybody's gonna bag.
Right.
It's not mandated, so not everybody is gonna bag.
Mhm. That is gonna be
Everybody
an
here at
issue.
the table could bag, and the guy across the street there doesn't bag. It defeats the whole purpose.
We already feel problems like that though, right now with,
Mm-hmm.
I've been raking my leaves, but my neighbor's not raking theirs and theirs blowing in my yard.
Guess what? You
It's
got it.
awful, but I can't help you with
No,
that.
no.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You can't make somebody put them out at the curb
No.
or bag them,
No.
Right,
but, it might,
or rate them, period. They can just-
right.
Yep,
But at least what is bagged wouldn't blow.
yep.
On the other hand, it's a lot more work for the homeowner.
Now, is that gonna increase our garbage fee if we bag it? Because
No, it would still be, our DPW would still
we'll still
pick it up.
The bags.
Like South Ave has their DPW go out and pick up the bags twice a season.
Yeah.
Like they come on a Saturday
Mhm.
and they just go around town. You have to have them out on these dates and they'll take them and then they bring them to the
And
recycling
they
center.
provide the bags too.
And they provide the bags, yeah.
Right.
So like, we don't have to follow that example, but if that's something that they wanted, we could follow, find out how it would work with our residents, how they'd like to see it happen and go from there.
Right.
So these are all just ideas, but
That's
they're
a
things
thought.
to think about,
Yep, it's a thought.
yeah.
Okay,
That's all we had on our agenda for tonight.
Oh, actually, one other thing.
Oh.
Mrs. Carey and I were at the Abington COG, and they brought up a couple of interesting ideas. I don't know, Mrs. Carey, if you want to.
Yeah, or you can too, Bob, we talked about sharing equipment. And they had some good ideas for us, to all pull together, and work with. With that Dalton was there.
Waverly, and I spoke with Newton, and they said they would be agreeable to just have sharing a list of their equipment. One of the things they talked about was hopefully by the end of this year, there's 14 municipalities in the COG, pretty much everything up to South Abington to Factoryville. And they wanted to get a list of all the DPW equipment in each of the municipalities.
Right.
And have some, and I also look into potential issues with insurance, but, if you needed a specific piece of equipment to do some work and Factoryville has it, instead of having to go rent it from somebody else, maybe you could have their guys come down and sort of.
We already do that on a very informal basis with South Ave, as we know with our lift truck.
Yeah.
Or their lift truck,
Yeah.
and they use our roller, so, no, it's a great idea, and I can tell you that, and I
Or
double
if-
check it again if we had it on a more formal process, but right now I know that our insurance is fine for when we borrow equipment, we're covering our insurance will cover it. And if another municipality is borrowing our equipment, their insurance will cover it, should cover it
Right,
while
yeah,
they have
so
it.
that would-
So that is something I've already talked to the insurance company about.
Oh, good.
So that is good news, yes.
And then the other thing I wanted to do is, they were talking about trying to do a history of the Abingtons, and that's, I don't know if that's something, it seemed like kind of a little bit more of a stretch, but they were gonna have it maybe next year at the COM, have each of the municipalities talk a little bit about each of their, like Clark Summit.
Sorry,
Clark Summit.
Warren's not here for that. He
I
really would
know,
have been.
I was thinking the
He-
same thing.
There's nobody that knew more about Clark Summit, I don't think, than him.
Um,
But we have Charlie and Dennis.
Well, that's true too.
What was that?
Charlie Compass and Dennis Martin. They already,
Oh.
they've already been very involved in a lot of historical stuff with the
Oh,
community.
very
So
much
they would
so,
have,
yeah.
they would have good input. That's great.
And I think they got an awful lot of information from Warren, so I think that would.
I just have one thing to add. I want to thank the Abington Comets. The football team was a great help at the tire event Saturday. And
Yeah.
there was a huge team. I can't praise them enough. Much appreciated their help. And DPW was a great help too, and Rosario's for the pizza.
We
That's
thought
good
we'd get
success,
at the most maybe 10. And we had about 40
right?
football players that came.
Oh,
They,
that's great.
and they were all over the top, willing to work.
They were the best team ever, you know?
Yeah,
Polite,
go Comets.
cordial, helpful,
Exactly.
Yeah.
energetic.
You just couldn't say enough good things about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Virginia is sending a thank you to the school. And they-
Yeah.
I already did an email, thank you. I CC'd Kathleen on it.
Good, yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you for doing that.
Sure.
Thanks for all your help.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that was a success. What was the total amount? 540?
$574.
574, so.
Yep. Yeah,
It was a good, good
and
show.
that's over 100 tires that are now not going to be on the side of the road.
Exactly.
And the people were very appreciative of
Yeah.
the event that were
Yeah.
pulling in. They were very appreciative. So
And like the one guy gave $20 tip towards the borough, you know, I mean, he
Wow.
just, because he appreciated what we were doing. And
Yeah.
everybody wanted to know, are we gonna do any electronic?
Yes.
Oh, they're like computers and stuff?
Yeah.
County
Yeah,
does
they
that.
just asked me.
TVs and
It's
that.
the county's
Said,
baby.
Get in touch
Yeah.
with the county.
No, I can tell you that we did get information from Mascaro that they can provide a recycling setup where it would be a fee-based,
Right.
but they would provide the equipment and they would collect the fee. But it would be under their, I mean, so it's something that we could consider talking to them about, but
Oh,
the biggest
okay.
problem with that is we're so small, where would we have it?
Right.
We don't have anything in the borough big enough to accommodate.
Have to
Because
do a
I don't-
parking lot over there at the school.
I don't even know if that, when they had that one up at the Viewmont
I
Mall,
was just thinking.
I
that it
went to
was-
that one
Yeah.
and that one was so, it was filled, the trucks were filled up in an hour. The
Yeah.
lines were out onto the highway
Oh,
and they
yeah.
had to close it down early.
Yeah.
It was a
remember that.
disaster. I
Yeah.
was there.
Were
The
you?
line was so long. We went for
Yeah.
breakfast and then we went back and it was gone.
Yeah.
What the heck
That
happened?
happened to a lot of.
Yeah.
people, I
But they literally had cars out onto the highway. So, you know, you want to be
Right.
careful about where you put it to make sure that we can
But
accommodate.
it's a big thing because a lot of people have electronics in their house that they can't get rid of. And
Right.
if they put them out to the curb, they're gonna sit there forever, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If council would like, I'll get some information from Mascaro and provide it to you guys and see if maybe we don't want to try to work something or even coordinate it with some other communities, ACOG,
Right?
where we can do it in a big event.
That's maybe
That's a
good.
thought.
Find-
There you
find
go.
out-
Bring that one.
I'll get information for you.
Find out how much, that's the big thing, the price.
Right, it would be, yeah, and I'm sure that's gonna vary as the market varies,
they
but I
bring.
can give you an idea.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, because the cost isn't to us, it's to the.
To the people who bring it.
Jacksonville. Yeah,
Yeah.
And you know, Virginia, you may want to check with the county too, because they may be going to do it again. this
I will
year.
check, but I doubt it.
Well, I think they were doing it. There was an email that came out, I'm gonna say a month ago or so. And there was something in there about they were doing the electronics recycling, but you just had to take it to where they were. You know, they weren't coming
They
around.
didn't say They were.
I don't recall, Jerry. I just
Oh, okay.
recall that the email said that they were doing the recycling.
I'll check with the county and
I
get
think
that
it was at the
information
baseball
to you as well.
stadium. Dave. I think that's where it was. It was at the baseball stadium.
Well, that's where the tire recycling was.
No, but I think the last time that electronics thing was.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Harry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, whatever you can find out from the county.
Yep, yep, I'll provide that information, the county and Mascaro to everyone, and then we can see if we want to work with EGCOG or something on something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay, so we can adjourn.
What, we have a review of the November 2nd agenda. What kind of numbers are we looking at for transfer of funds to the capital reserve?
Oh, I've got to go back and reevaluate that. That was something I had put on the agenda from was it late spring, early summer, when we were talking about that capital reserve
Yeah.
transfer? And we decided to hold off and see where we stood financially later in the year.
That's right.
So I will
Curious
have
to
that
know what the number
information for you before the meeting. I'll
Okay.
email everybody the dollar amount and where we stand financially, so you'll be able to make the decision. I apologize, I didn't have
Okay.
it for
No
today.
problem. One other question, Virginia. I noticed there was some memorandum of understandings with the.
We're gonna go into
personnel.
executive session
Oh,
on
we'll
that.
do that. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So we're done?
We're adjourned and.
Okay, let me turn
I
these
motion
off.
that we adjourn. Oh, no, we're in executive.
You can't make a
we
motion.
motioned.
You can't make
That
a
was a
motion.
trick. I don't appreciate that.